Welcome to the Impact Over Optics podcast, a place where real progress shines beyond appearances and distractions. Here, voices from across industries come together to share wisdom, stories, and strategies that remind us what's possible when purpose leads the way. Because true progress is not measured by how it looks, but by the impact it leaves behind. Let's get started.
Welcome to Impact Over Optics, the podcast where we go beyond appearances and focus on what really moves the needle: authentic leadership, purposeful results, and lasting impact. I'm your host, Jim Viscusi, and today I'm joined by Bruce Costa. Bruce is a writer, instructor, serial entrepreneur, philanthropist, and father. He's practiced traditional Japanese Shotokan karate with the most respected teachers in the craft for 4.5 decades around the world. Bruce is the author of Welcome to Karate, Unlocking the Wisdom of the Beginner's Mind, published by YMAA, and founder and chief instructor of Granite Forest Dojo, where he continues to teach to this day. As a board member of the Christopher Court Foundation, Bruce has helped to raise over $300,000 towards pediatric brain tumor research. Today, his charity of focus is Lifetime Wells International, whose mission is to provide clean water wells in rural Africa. Bruce spent many years as a retailer, landlord, consultant, and marketer. He's worked in, presented to, and consulted for various manufacturing, publishing, distribution, retail industries throughout the United States, Canada, and Europe. He's published over 250 magazine column installments, feature articles, interviews, and book reviews for a variety of magazines, newspapers, and other periodicals. He's the former retailer liaison and lead editorial presenter for Marvel Comics. Bruce continues to live in the Boulder Stream, Pennsylvania forest where his children were raised. All three of them are Shotokan black belts, graduates of elite universities, successful professionals, socially vibrant, and most for happy. Bruce, thank you for the hand gestures and everything else you've already put in, and welcome to the show.
I'm delighted to be with you, my dear friend.
And it's already great because our topic this month is humor, and I think I have picked the most extra special guest I could have found for this. Specifically, I want to explore how do we use humor at work, in our lives, and as a leadership tool. One of the many reasons I invited Bruce to this episode is the breadth of his experience, as I just had to rattle off for the last 3 minutes to get through his bio. And another is I've always found him to be a genuinely funny person. I'm really looking forward to getting your take on this topic, Bruce. Thanks for joining us today.
The cost of admission already achieved. Wow. Thanks, man.
But you're
really
welcome.
Lovely of you to say.
Just getting somebody to read your bio in a professional voice was probably sufficient to get you.
You have quite the voice, I must say.
Thank you.
That is the most impressive I've ever been. Really glad I made all that stuff up.
That's fantastic. Well,
all right.
Speaking of making things up, you've had a lot of really varied fantasy and reality opportunities. So can you tell me a time when you had a moment where humor changed the energy in the room when you were having a discussion with someone?
It would be easier to answer the reverse.
Hit me, man. Go for it.
Like, I really don't know when I don't use humor. And as I shared with you before we got on today, it's a little bit of a challenge for me to know. This is kind of like me asking you, well, Jim, what hand gestures do you make during a business meeting? It would be impossible for you to capture that in a description, but I can tell you that I think my meta view of humor in the life comes just from an awareness of what the heck it is we're all doing here. I mean, you know, the whole universe, right? It's dust. It coalesces around stars, and then one day that dust decides it cares how many impressions it's making on Instagram. That's funny.
It is funny.
100% of this 0.0% of the human condition is funny. And the fact that we actually have these quotidian concerns, right? These workaday thoughts that we matter, that anyone 2 generations from now is even going to care that we lived, all of it is just so ephemeral that if you're not smiling through this, the alternative is not acceptable. I'm just happy to be with you. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to get what privileges I've enjoyed. And I'm trying to find a way to make privileges like that available to other people, because none of us get out of this alive. I hate to tell you so.
don't share the secret. Other people may not know that yet. Right. But
yeah.
let's talk about other people for a second. Right.
Okay.
Okay. So here's Bruce. Bruce has his philosophy. I'm here to be happy. I'm here to be alive. I'm here to take advantage of all these things. But not everybody in your universe is me. So when you just finally started to really get this realization, how did you sort of figure out how it made people react to you?
Yeah.
So now you're on the receiving end of whatever they've decided to give you as a part of this humor and this way you have about you. How did you see that in other people? How did that change the way you interacted with other people?
Jim, the knee-jerk reaction of people being interviewed is to say, "Great question." I'm
you're
here
not
to
a
tell
jerk.
you.
That's fine.
It's more that I'm not a knee. So that was a really thoughtful question. And you're absolutely right, because there's an axiom present, whether we acknowledge it or not. And I have yet to get contradicted on this in a way that is meaningful to me. And that is, we've got to meet people where they are. We've got to, if we are to be effective in communicating with them about anything on any topic, right? To me, humor is a quite useful lubricant. But yeah, you can land flat, you can land hard.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I had a woman who was angry with me, and it took me a lot of listening and a lot of going along with her before I could slip a joke in. And I did have her smiling and laughing and even thanking me by the end of the conversation. It's the least likely possible outcome. But I will tell you that, I did dye my hair white for this interview so I would look smarter, because I think that many of these answers only come with this color hair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that at some point you want to talk about, I don't mean to jump ahead. I know that at some point you want to talk about when, how can you tell when you're comfortable to use humor? Many people are uncomfortable in a business setting using humor, right? What do you have to say to people like that? I think was one of your thoughts that you sent me ahead of time.
Yes.
Okay. I would say, well, that's probably how you know you're not ready to use humor. And very likely you're not ready to be a leader in a business setting. So go back, go to a bar, have a bunch of these, interact with the people at the bar, and then come back to the team you're responsible for and offer them the wisdom you've received at the bar. I mean, it's just about learning to have yourself over top of your feet, which took me a long time. Just knowing who you are, knowing what's at risk in any given situation, right? None of us want to take that chance when it's inappropriate. All of us want to be respectful. I hope, I intend none of my humor to be disrespectful. It's more of a we're laughing at something. I'm a teacher, and one of the things I say to my students is, hey, listen, I'm not laughing with you. I'm laughing at you.
Having been laughed at by Bruce, I can tell you it's a true story.
Which is well done, my friend.
Thank you.
Which is why, you'll see if I could use that poorly, couldn't I? I could say that in a way that would be offensive. And only after I've worked with someone for a while do I get to throw that out there. And by a while, I don't mean very long. But, I think what's more important, what enables humor, there's something that is prerequisite to humor, and that is sincerity, authenticity, compassion, real interest in the other person, letting them know you have their back. All of that stuff really lets you lean into jokes, even at their expense. And then, then the whole future's open to you as having a relational growth experience with the other person. Yeah. Wow. That's what it's all about.
There's like two things out of there I really want to pull into. So first of all, I need to tell you as a sub note, I could have always edited your hair color digitally. So I could have made you gray beforehand. Right. So next time you don't have to dye your hair. You're fine. Right.
Flowing blonde would be
Okay.
appreciated. Okay.
I can get you the whole Thor look. I know he's one of your faves. We can totally go down.
Yeah, baby.
Right. All right. But before you dyed your hair, right, and made it thinner on the top and did all of those other things along the way, you talked about this idea of compassion and feeling and making this connection where people, how did you learn that? Right. That's a huge lesson where you had to be somewhat uncomfortable trying to use that humor because I'm going to tell you right now, most of my work people are not going to go to bars and have 4 beers and then come back to their work conversation. That's probably not it.
Nor would I.
Nor would you, right? So what did you do? How did you make yourself comfortable with using humor as the tool that you're obviously very comfortable in using?
I made that cosmic joke at the beginning, but it really is it. I noticed what's important. I have the benefit of having many just superb teachers. I really have gotten to go all over the world and sit in the audience of just some of the best teachers in the world. Thich Nhat Hanh, I've studied with him for nearly 2 decades now. And he passed away years ago and still actively, really, it's like a process of, hey, doofus, that's Thich Nhat Hanh. He actually makes you laugh at himself. And many of the people in the Buddhist tradition that I pay attention to, you're sitting on the cushion in these audiences laughing at yourself out loud. I would have never thought monks do that. Aren't they a bunch of miserable ascetic, sitting in a cave? No, not. And so the fact that there really is at once so much less on the table than we think in our daily lives, and at the same time, so much more that we have that's available to us as having real value. That's what lets me just lighten up, in the ways I think about money, in the ways I think about aspiration, in the ways I think about failure. Look, I'm as lousy at this as anybody else. I have bad days. I have real concerns that I'm not doing enough and all of that kind of stuff. But every once in a while, I get to have a conversation with you and I can get above it and realize, oh my God, the gifts so outweigh the worries that any day I'm not waking up thinking, yeah, I'm still alive. I'm doing the wrong thing. I need to be wagging my tail, man.
Right.
So,
yeah. But there was a path to that, Bruce, to disclose. I have been with Bruce on a multi-day retreat with Thich Nhat Hanh leading the retreat in Blue Cliff, New York, and it was amazing. And everything he says is right in the sense that those people are so grounded that they don't find the concerns that we have troubling. And what I was hearing, what you're saying is you've reached a point now where you're far more comfortable accepting that the ordinary concerns that people have that make them uncomfortable with using humor are not as important to you as they might have been years ago. Right.
Yeah.
And that's great. It comes with having white hair and, no flowing locks and no blonde Thor look. But at the end of the day, I'm trying to dig into that thought of I got to make a step, right? I got to get somewhere in that step. And a couple of jokes, like don't take yourself seriously. Go to the bar and lighten up. But anything else? I'm going to pull some more of the older Bruce Costa out of that, or the younger Bruce Costa.
All right. I give. So I've got to say that there's two things. One is wiring and the other is noticing. So I do realize that I have a blessing for whatever reason that I'm pretty positively wired. And I know that discovering a happy outlook on is not as easy for some of us as it is for others, And the truth is there. Like the fact that none of us get out alive, I can read Nietzsche and come out thinking, man, this is the most affirming, positive, It's like, this proves everything I've been thinking here, and I realize that other people can read Nietzsche and come up with a quite dismal view of their position in the universe. And, so I recognize that. And I just want to say that. Now, that's not to say, though, that I really do think that regardless of your wiring, like, I can completely see the downside and have at times wondered deeply and depressingly about it. But on the other hand, there's also a beautiful truth. Like, what are the chances we get to be here interacting with each other at all? You can drive yourself to distraction with this thing. You can think, gosh, every person I ever interact with is an opportunity that, for a whole, like, if anyone's dating, I'm working on a book on dating, and nowadays there's swiping left and right. That, to me, I'm sorry, but feels like Auschwitz. It feels like,
I was thinking Roman gladiator more than anything else.
But I mean, I'm taking an entire person's existence and invalidating it in the connection it would have to me. And this person's potentially valid and this person is, but it's awful. It's all right, but it's necessary if we're going to get anywhere. So I'm just saying that noticing. So the second piece is noticing what's really there and noticing when I get worked up about something. Is it really as bad as I think? Like, there's an old joke. If you're sick, so you're either going to get better or you're going to die. If you get better, there's nothing to worry about. If you die, there's nothing to worry about. If you get better, so you'll just have one leg. Well, having one leg will get you killed or it won't. Either way, you have nothing to worry about. And you can go all the way down this chain, right? Like, that's just oh my gosh, I used to work for Marvel Comics. I so wanted to be a comic book writer. I'd see things come out that I knew I could do better than. And one thing led to another, and Marvel went bankrupt, and everything changed, and that whole vision went away. And what is my life diminished because I couldn't render my opinion of what people in spandex should be doing with themselves? Have I not continued to have every gift that, and at the time that was a very big deal, but it's just the world is so rich. It has never been more rich. It has never been more safe. And I say this to you as a person who has nothing but concern about the current state of America. It has never been better for those of us living our lives at this time. Speaking of political leaders, Obama once said, if you could choose any time to live anywhere ever, you wouldn't go back in time. And, and you didn't know it was the Rawlsian veil. You didn't know what amount of money you'd be born with. You didn't know what race you'd be, what gender you'd be, any sexual orientation, any of that, right? You wouldn't live in the Romantic eras. You wouldn't live in the 50s or 60s when America was great. You would live today. You would choose no other time than today, right? So, I mean, GLP-1.
Yeah, mRNA vaccines and everything else that's out there, 100%.
That's right. It's an impossibly wonderful time. Noticing our worries, noticing our blessings is probably the single most important thing that we can do to get through this life well. And I have you to thank for that, my friend. You've said many things that have gotten me thinking on that track, like not having as much money as possible, but having enough, Yeah. So there you go.
So let me try to pull all of this into a couple of sentences and give you an opportunity to see if I have summarized for others what I think I heard you say. We started talking about humor in leadership. And really where we spend a lot of our time talking about is not humor necessarily as a tool, but a lightness in your way of approaching the tasks and the challenges that are in front of you. And if you have that lightness and compassion, then humor or laughter almost becomes an automatic response rather than something that's a tool that you deploy or something you need to think about more consciously.
That sounds pretty good to me. In fact, I think the whole issue of relaxing into it and nervousness can best be summed up in a limerick.
Okay. Remember
Now,
the
I
rules.
know, exactly. And I know that you're concerned about your audience and their tender ears. So allow me to display my best example of skating that nervous arena.
Okay.
Fully aware that you have editorial capacity too. All right. You ready?
Ready.
There was once a firefighter named Hunt. She was given an engine to shunt. Getting nervous yet?
Ready.
But a ladder flew from her truck, all gasped when she yelled, "Duck!" thereby saving the man in front. Now, I don't know what you thought I was doing with that limerick, but
I'm not sure
there
that
you go.
anybody knew what you thought you were doing with that limerick as we were going.
Humor is, and you don't have to memorize limericks. It's, to me, as you know, I teach karate, and I tell my students when they're sparring, right? Your job is to read the mind of the we only do three things: we think, we talk, and we act. That's Thich Nhat Hanh. That's the Buddha, right? We only do three things. Okay, I need to know what you think. And that's what I'm doing. Now, what am I doing there? I'm forming a relationship with you. It's all about a relationship. And as you move, I move. And as I move, you move, and all of that. Well, that's love, baby. That's love. I teach fighting as a tool toward love. And that's what humor is. It's really about a sincere element in. I know Jordan Peterson has talked about how comics, excellent stand-up comics, are funny because they speak truth in a way that's so direct, so surgical, so eviscerating. And the reason we're laughing is because it's true. If they just made crap up, it wouldn't be funny. So that, to me, is very interesting as I leverage it toward people. That I think the most important thing really is, as I'm working toward any end, whether it's teaching a topic, marketing a product, developing some system in an organization, I think that the most prerequisite element there is finding a way to care about the people on the team. Our social primates, we are just a bunch of foolish, half-evolved mammals, sub-adequate gorillas whose only hope is working together, right? And fortunately, we are largely social in our construct, in our mental construct. So that capacity to care, to really have interest in a human being that you're working on something with, the outcome's going to be better. Your time spent on the planet's going to be better. And who you going to want to hang around with in your 70s after you're retired is going to be the people that cared about you and you cared about them, Yeah.
I cannot think of a better way to end this particular conversation. So thank you, Bruce. This has been delightful and funny and amazing and amusing all at the same time. So I appreciate you joining us on the Impact Over Optic podcast and for just being open to share all of your thoughts and experiences. It's really been an
Super fun,
amazing
my
conversation. I'm so glad. I really am.
Excellent. Best wishes to you guys. Cheers.
Thank you. I'm Jim Viscusi. And remember, authentic change always outlasts appearance. Until next time, lead with purpose and leave a real mark. Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us on the Impact Over Optics podcast. We hope today's insights sparked fresh ideas and reminded you of the power of purpose-driven work. Please share this episode with others who believe in real change, and join us again as we continue to look beyond appearances and focus on the impact that truly lasts.